So in today's class, we will discuss about one of the CPU scheduling algorithms. So we'll start our discussion with first come first serve algorithm, which is most popular and the simplest CPU scheduling algorithms available. In this topic, we will will going to see different types of scheduling algorithms. Like shortest job first, priority scheduling, round robin methods, and all those things. So, but we will start our discussion with the simplest and the most commonly used CPU scheduling algorithm, that is first come, first serve. Okay, let me read out this definition. CPU scheduling deals with the problem of deciding which of the processes in ready queue is to be allocated to the CPU. There are many different CPU scheduling algorithms, like you are seeing here: first come, first serve, shortest job first, round robin, and priority scheduling. See, the overall concept of this CPU scheduling is to decide which process to be allocated to the CPU first. So there are many methods or many strategies, you can say, many um, procedures available. So we see them in the form of algorithms, so like first come first serve, job shortest job first, round robin, and priority scheduling. So the overall the main aim of these algorithm is to decide which process should be executed first, or which process should be allocated with the CPU. You know that CPU processes all the programs or all the process which are there in the ready queue, isn't it? So we need a certain procedure or format which will decide which process will go next and which process will get the CPU so that it can be executed. Okay, right. So let's start this first come first serve algorithm, and let's see how it operates, or let's see what is the methodology of this first come first serve. By far, the simplest CPU scheduling algorithm is the first come first serve scheduling algorithm. The process that requests the CPU first is allocated the CPU first. So in general, we hear this, or we listen to this phrase called first come first served. So basically, it means the what we say, the thing which comes first will be served first, or which will be entertained first, or which will be executed first. So like we see in queues concept, in which the entity or the object which comes first, it will be executed first, or it will be processed first. So the best example of this is the ticket counter ticket counter in a movie theaters, or any ticket counters, or any queues, wherever you see queue, there you can see this methodology: first come first serve, where the person who is in the first place will be served first, isn't it? So this same concept, same methodology is also used in processing the process inside the computer system. So whichever the process comes first in the and comes first and placed in the ready queue, that process will be executed first, or that process will be given with the CPU so that it can execute. So that is the main simplest thing. Okay, the implementation of the first come first serve policy is easily managed with a FIFO queue, first in first out queue. So in order to execute this first come first served what we say policy, or this procedure, we need a queue called FIFO queue, which is nothing but first in first out queue, which clearly states that whatever the entity, whatever the object which comes first will be served first and it will exit first. So that is we normally it uses a queue called FIFO queue in order to execute or in order to what we say run this process. When a process enters the ready queue, its PCB, which is nothing but process control block is linked onto the tail of the queue. When the CPU is free, it is allocated to the process at the head process at the head of the queue. The running process is then removed from the queue. So so whenever a process is or whenever a process wants to enter this FIFO queue, the it will enter from the tail part, that means at the rear end, and what the process which is at the head end or in the front end will be processed first. And after a process is allocated with the CPU, then that process is removed from the ready queue, and the next process which is there, that will come into the first place. So in this way, all the process which enter the FIFO queue based on first come first serve basis, they will be processed. So I hope you understood this methodology. It is very simple. Okay. Right. Let's consider one example and let's try to understand this concept more clearly. Suppose if we have three processes, P1, P2, P3, and whose burst time is 24 seconds, 3 seconds, and 3 seconds. Just these are imaginary numbers. Okay. Let's consider that process P1 takes 24 seconds of CPU time, or it takes it reserves the CPU for 24 seconds, and P2 reserves or P2 require 3 seconds of CPU time, and P3 requires three more one more 3 seconds of CPU time. Let's imagine that. So, and we also suppose that uh, process P1 has entered the FIFO queue first. So this is the chart which you are seeing here. Let's imagine this as a queue, okay, whose front end is at this end, and whose tail end is this end. Okay, so let's imagine that P1 has entered the queue first, then P2 and P3, and you can see this is how they are arranged, right? And obviously the process P1 will be given with the CPU, or it will take the CPU and it will start executing. Okay, and the time taken by process P1 to complete its whatever execution is 24 seconds. That means um, we can understand that P process P1 holds CPU for 24 seconds, and after that, uh, after P1 process P1 completes its execution or completes its burst time, then it will move out of the ready queue, this ready queue, and it will go to some IO queue, or some IO interrupts or whatever, or it will complete its execution. Then P2 will be placed in the first place, and P2 will be allocated with the CPU, and P2 will execute. And after P2 completes its burst time, it will again it will move from the ready queue, right? So this happens continuously. So in a loop format until and unless all the processes P1, P2, P3 are completely terminated. Understand? So this is how first come first serve um, scheduling works. So the process which comes first will be given the CPU, or it will be executed first, and the process which comes last will be will be executed last. All right, so if we see the waiting time of each process here, waiting time of P1 is 0, because it is in first place. There is no need of waiting for any other process to complete its execution. So the waiting time of P1 is 0, and the waiting time of P2 is 24 seconds. Since P2 has to wait 24 seconds, that means until P1 is completed, then only it can get the CPU. So P2 has to wait 24 seconds and P3 has to wait 27 seconds. Why? Because it has to wait until P1 and P2 to be completed. So P1 takes 24 seconds, P2 take 3 seconds. So overall the waiting time becomes 27 seconds. So if you see the waiting time of P3, it is 27 seconds. And if we calculate the average waiting time of all the three processes, it will be 17 seconds. Okay, just remember these figures. Uh, so you can understand by this that the P3 will take more time to be executed, since it has to wait for the long process P1 and also the P2, right? So this is what happens in first come first serve methodology. All right, and let's consider a separate different scenario here. Let's imagine that the processes have arrived in this arrangement, that is P2, P3, and P1. Suppose P2 has arrived first and P3 has arrived next, and at last P1 has arrived. So in this case, the values, the figures will change drastically. So if you see the waiting times of each and every process, see the burst times of each and every process are same. P1 is 24 and P2 is 3 and P3 is also 3 seconds. But the way they have arrived inside the ready queue, or the way they are arranged in the ready queue is different here. So P2 has arrived first, P3 next, and P1 last. Now let's see the figures here. Waiting time of the each and every process will be: P1 will be uh, 6 seconds, P2 will be 0 seconds since it is in the first place, and P3 will be 3 seconds. Okay, so I hope you understood how we got these values. P1 because it should wait until these two processes get executed. So 3 plus 3, 6 seconds. P2 since it is in first place, no waiting time, 0. P3 will take 3 seconds so that because it has to wait until P2 completes, and P2's burst time is 3 seconds. Okay, so this is clear. Now coming to the average waiting time here, if we calculate the average waiting time of these three process arranged in this format, then it will be 3 seconds. Now, if we compare these two values, waiting time and average time, with this scenario and the previous one, this scenario, the values, you can see there is a drastic change in the values. So even though the process take this equal same amount of burst time, uh, if the what we say if the uh, arrangement of the processes are in a different format, then the waiting time and the average waiting time values change drastically. Understand? So we by this we can understand that first come first serve policy, uh, it varies. It's what we say. Uh, mm, okay. First come first serve. Its values are not stable. Okay, the average waiting time under the first come first serve policy is generally not minimal and may vary substantially if the process CPU burst times vary greatly. So you can see if the burst times of the CPU or the arrangement of the process in the ready queue changes, then the values of the minimum waiting time and the average waiting time will change drastically. So it is not recommended to use this first come first serve in dynamic environment where a time sharing concept is there. Okay, so let's imagine that if you are working on a if you consider this scenario if you consider this scenario, let's imagine that you are in this place. Okay, which takes 3 seconds to execute, and so you are let's imagine that you are working on a Word document, and this is another application which is currently running in the application. So if you type something, you have to wait until uh, this process to complete execution. So even if you type on the keyboard, the output is not reflected on the monitor. Why? Because the instructions which you have given is not processed by the CPU. Why? Because you are in the ready state, still in the ready queue, and you are waiting for the P1. And only after P1 and P2 completes its execution, then only your process or your instruction will be executed. That means that means you are typing at one point and you are waiting for 27 seconds in order to see your the whatever you have typed on the monitor. So is it feasible in when you are working on a real time? So is it okay for you if you are working real time in real time? That means you are typing something and you are waiting for 27 seconds in order to process that one in order to get the output. So that is not possible and that is not feasible, and that is not recommended in the real time system. So the user will be frustrated, and he may not use that architecture, he may not use that operating system in future. So the user expects that whenever he enters the data, he expects the output to be displayed immediately, or he expects output to be very quick, right? So he will not wait, and is not ready to wait for 27 seconds. So the first come first serve will not work in real time environment or time sharing environment. Okay, this is the drawback of first come first serve. And there is one more drawback, that is the utilization of CPU is minimal, and the utilization of input and output devices are also minimal. That means the see, as I told you when we were discussing about the scheduling criteria, that means maximum CPU utilization. So the ultimate goal was to utilize the CPU at the most, isn't it? So we always try to, or or the operating system always try to keep the CPU busy, so it will not what to say, it will not see the CPU sitting in idle state for longer time, the operating system. So operating system will always try to keep the CPU busy. That means to use the CPU at the most. So but here, if the operating system uses first come first serve as its scheduling algorithm, see, let's see what will happen. Now, I will try to explain this diagram, which have a CPU and input and output devices, and in between them there are two queues. One is input output queue and the ready queue. And let's imagine that we have four processor here: P1, P2, P3, and P4. And P1 has maximum burst time, CPU burst time. So that means it takes more time of a CPU. Understand? So let's start with this queue, ready queue. Okay, in this ready queue, there are P1, P2, P3, and P4 process, and P1 has the maximum CPU burst. So what it will do is, it will the CPU will be allocated to P1 first, and the process P2, P3, P4 will be in a ready queue in waiting stage, and they will wait until P1 completes its execution. That means, suppose if its burst time is 24 seconds, these are all the P2 will wait for 24 seconds. Understand? And when the P1 completes its execution, then it will go for the input output devices, right? So after the process is completed, obviously the process data should go to some input or output devices, IO. So it will be placed in the first place of the IO queue. Now in the first place, IOQ will be there. And since P2, P3, and P4 have short CPU burst, they will quickly complete the execution, and they will be again be in waiting stage in IOQ. In IO queue also, P1 is holding the input output devices IO processor here, and in this queue also they are in waiting stage. Understand? And after P1 completes its whatever the execution part or the IO part, again it will come and it will be placed in the first place of ready queue. Okay, and these three processors will quickly access the input output devices, and again they will be placed at the end of the ready queue. So this will continue until all the processes are terminated, or until any one of the processes is terminated. So what you are doing, what you can see here is, when P1 completes its execution and it is there in the IO queue, or it is there, it is busy using the input output devices. After that, P2, P3, P4 will also execute quickly, and they will be placed in the IO queue. So meanwhile, when P1 is with IO devices and P2, P3, P4 and IO queue, the CPU is idle, isn't it? No processor is using CPU. CPU is in idle state. Why? Because these three things are in queue, and P1 is holding input output devices. So they have to wait until P1 leaves, or P1 just um, terminates its execution, or simply moves to the ready queue. So meanwhile, these are busy with the input output devices. CPU is sitting idle. Understand? And when they complete the IO input output devices, and when they are in the ready queue, if you see, when they are in the ready queue, then IO devices are idle. So we are not using the IO devices also here in this case. So in both cases, either CPU is idle or input output devices are idle. So because of first come first serve, so this is happening. This is called as convoy effect. We call it as convoy effect. You can see in the diagram below here, a truck is stopping the cars. See, let's imagine truck as a longer job, okay, which takes long time to move. Suppose if you can see in the traffic jams, or any signals, okay, if there is a bigger vehicle or a longer vehicle before us, so it will take more time to overtake that one, okay, or the waiting time is more. So we call that as a convoy effect. So since here P1 is a larger one, longer job, and it is making the other process to wait because it has a longer CPU burst time. Okay, so because of this first come first serve policy, these poor things are waiting for a long time. Even though the burst time, they need a shortest amount of time to execute. Understand? They need a fraction of second to execute. But even though they are waiting in the queue. So if you see in the supermarkets, even I have faced this problem in DMarts frequently. See, um, there will be a customer with two or three items, okay, standing in the queue, and he will be frustrated, and the person who is in front of that customer has a full bag of items. Okay, so what the second person will think, or the person with the two items will think. So he will be worried, and he will be frustrated that I have only two items to be what we say billed, but unnecessarily I am waiting for longer amount of time because of the person in front of me has more items. So that will create a frustration in the person, second person. So same kind of situation is also there here, okay, for the P2, P3 and P4. So this is happening because of the concept of first come first serve. So if we don't have any first come first serve, if we have another approach like shortest job first, then the shortest job will be allocated the CPU time. Okay, so that is another concept we will discuss in the next class. Okay, but today we will stick to the first come first serve. I hope you understood this analogy of first come first serve. Okay, so unnecessarily the CPU time is CPU is used minimal here, and we are also uh, not using the input output devices to the optimum level because of this concept. All right. And finally, first come first serve scheduling algorithm is non preemptive. Once the CPU has been allocated to a process, that process keeps the CPU until it releases the CPU, either by terminating or by requesting IO. The first come first serve algorithm is thus particularly troublesome for time sharing systems. Okay, let me first explain this part. So the first come first serve, in first come first serve algorithm, the process are non-preemptive process. Non-preemptive means they will not leave the CPU, or they will not leave the work what they are doing. Okay, they will if they will leave only when they wish to, or when the job is completed. That means they will stick on to the job which they are doing, okay, until IO interrupt occurs, or until some other, or until it wants to leave the job. So even some process are waiting in the some priority process are waiting in the queue, the process will not leave the CPU. We call it this as non preemptive thing. Non-preemptive means even if you ask the person to leave, he will not leave. He will stick to that one until he wishes to leave. Then only he will. So the same thing. The process keeps the CPU until it releases the CPU, either by terminating or by requesting IO. So it has to leave the CPU on its own. No one can force that process to leave the CPU. So here also, if P1 is holding the CPU, even if P2 puts a request that please leave the CPU, that I want to use it, I want to use it, I need I am a priority processor, please. So even if it even let's imagine that even if it puts a request to the P1, it will not leave the CPU here. Only it will leave the CPU when it encounters a IO request, or when it terminates itself. So that is called non-preemptive nature. Okay, and this first come first serve is not recommended, as I said, in time sharing systems or interactive systems where we need a quick response. It is not at all recommended. Okay, where it is important that each user gets a share of the CPU at regular intervals, it would be disastrous to allow one process to keep the CPU for an extended period. So here the CPU, in real-time systems, the first come first serve methodology is never used. Understand? Suppose if two people are playing video game, like let's imagine that user one is process one and user two is process two. If they are using first come first serve, so only after the user one completes one move, or completes the one task, then only user two will get the CPU. So that is not fair in the game, right? So the two users should get equal share of CPU time, so that they can play the game simultaneously. So by this statement we can come to a conclusion that first come first serve will not work in time sharing systems or in real time environment. Okay, that's it. I hope you understood this first come first serve uh, scheduling algorithm approach. Okay, so it is very simple to implement using any programming language. It is very simple to understand and implement in the operating system, develop a application. But there are some drawbacks which prevents this this method in using in real time environment. Okay, I any doubts? Right?